This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. I recently went to the GAMA trade show in Reno, Nevada, and for me in North America, that's I see as the kickoff of the 2018 board gaming season, where a lot of publishers and distributors and retailers are there. It was an industry-only event, but it allowed me to see what was coming up later this year and actually see and play some of these things and get more information about them. And I always try to wait to do my top 10 most anticipated of the year until I've at least gone to GAMA, because that gives me a better feeling of what's actually coming out. If I did it right at the beginning of the year, I'd know a few of the ones that didn't quite make it that I was looking forward to, but this gives me a lot more things to pick from. So with that being said, I'm going to do my top 10 anticipated for the year, the ones that are coming out later in 2018. Not all of them are from GAMA, actually. There's plenty here that I did not even cover at GAMA because I already knew about them. So let's take a look.
Number 10.
Now my number 10 is from Capstone Games. This is from their Simply Complex line, which are games that are easy to teach but have a lot of depth. This is called the Estates. And in the Estates, you're building a subdivision using different types of blocks, similar to the big chunky blocks in their game The Climbers that came out last year. It's essentially an auction game where you'll select a piece, a big block, and everyone gets one bid. And you get the last bid. It has a bidding style similar to a game I love called Ponzi Scheme, where the active player gets money from the highest bidder, and that bidder that wins gets that block. Or the active player pays the highest bidder their own bid, and then they get to keep the block. So it's an interesting way to set the economy. It also has a closing economy, so no money is ever added to the game. And essentially you're collectively, not cooperatively, but building 3 rows of estates, and incompleted rows are worth negative points. So you can really mess with people and put a building that would score a lot of points negatively for someone else. So it sounds like fun there too. And it's coming to Kickstarter in April. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Number 9.
Number 9 is Reef, and this is from Next Move Games. Now this is sort of a spin-off from Plan B Games that did Azul last year. It was a big hit. And they've actually moved Azul to this Next Move line. And these are basically games that are going to be 4 letters long, and they're going to be sort of simple to teach, but have a lot of depth. This is designed by Emerson Matsuuchi, best known for Century Spice Road, Spectre Ops. This is 2 to 4 players. It takes about 30 to 45 minutes, ages 8 and up. Now you're trying to score cards from your hand by creating reef patterns on your own board. And this is sort of an abstract game. Now when you draw a card, you can spend points to get cards that are further back. And if you take a card that has those points on them, you get points. It's always a mechanism I love in different games, and I like to see it in this one. Now when you play a card, they are multi-use cards. The top half shows which of the 4 different types of pieces you get to place on your board. Sometimes you can even stack them up in higher levels. And the bottom part of the card is used to score a specific type of pattern. And you can even score it more than once if you have multiple instances of that pattern. Now you might want cards for the pieces, or you might want the cards to score, and you might have to kind of figure out the timing of I gotta play this card to get these pieces, which will then help me score this other card. It just seems very interesting. Again, super simple, but looks like it does have a lot of depth. It's definitely an interesting abstracted games, and this is gonna be an Origin release in June.
Number 8.
My number 8 is from Thames and Cosmos, called Mercado. This is from designer Rudiger Dorn, best known for Istanbul, Las Vegas, Karuba. He's done a lot of my favorite games. He's really good at making games that are very easy to teach but have a lot of depth, and this looks like that. Essentially, you're a Spanish elite trying to buy things to impress your elite friends. You'll be blindly drawing 3 coins out of your own bag. Each player gets their own bag. You'll be assigning them to different objects that impress the Spanish elite. Now, once you get enough coins on items, you basically get that for points. There's a lot of strong interaction with other players as you're all bidding on the same slew of items from the coins that you're getting and such. Now, one of the most interesting mechanisms is a modular scoreboard where certain places add or subtract points or give certain benefits or disadvantages. So it changes the timing of which item you want, when you want to get it. Plus, you can start the scoreboard in different places to give the game a lot of replayability, but the timing of that, where you normally want to get something and finish it, but you don't because it's because of the scoring would be negative for you. So very interesting things there. That little twist seems good enough for me. And Rudiger Dorn, trusted name. Thames and Cosmos, trusted name. and that is Mercado, number 8.
Number 7.
My number 7 is called Forbidden Sky. It's coming from Gamewright, and it's from designer Matt Leacock. Now, this is the third game in the quote-unquote Forbidden series. First, there was Forbidden Island, then there was Forbidden Desert, and now we have Forbidden Sky. I love cooperative games. I love Forbidden Island itself is, one of the games that actually got me back into the hobby board gaming market. Played games a lot as a kid, kind of went away during college, during sports and stuff, and came back through Forbidden Island. So I love that game. I love how it's sort of like Pandemic's little brother. I still actually like it better than Pandemic. It's always tense. Forbidden Desert was good, but Forbidden Island was so good, I still just play that one. So I'm really interested to see if can Forbidden Sky live up to what Forbidden Island did. Is it going to be about the same depth, or will it be more deep? I'm really looking forward to this, since Forbidden Island is one of my favorites of all time and got me back into the hobby. I'm dying to see what Forbidden Sky has to do with it.
Number 6.
Number 6 is a game called Imaginarium. It's co-designed by Bruno Cathala, and it's going to be produced by Bombix. Now, Bruno got a chance to show me this a little bit last year at Gen Con as a prototype. It's a resource management game where you'll be managing not only resources, but also the machines that create these resources. So you're going to be getting all these different machines. You'll be trying to spend money to gather new machines, and the more you pay, the quicker you're going to be able to go in turn order. Machines get you resources each round, along with money, and points are going to be hidden behind your screen, and actions are selected by this really unique wheel on your board, which forces you to match up two specific actions. They're sort of stuck in this spot, but you can turn them, but they're always going to be two specific actions that you have to select with that wheel. Now, you can spend resources to repair and reuse your machines, or you can double resources to scrap that machine and discard it for the rest of the game. So do I want to keep using this engine, or do I want to get double and kind of get rid of it? You'll be using resources to buy points, and then you'll be racing to finish projects that are worth more points and to be the first one to finish them. So it has some interesting elements there. It wouldn't be a top 10 anticipated list if at least one Bruno Cathala game wasn't on it. And so that is Imaginarium.
Number 5.
The next one is Chronicles of Crime. It's a cooperative game of crime investigation, mixing a VR experience, virtual reality, with gaming. Now, there's reusable components that will be used in, multiple different scenarios, about 9, I think. There's cards of characters that you'll investigate, as well as clues and objects. There's also locations that you'll visit, and you'll be investigating these with a QR code in your device, a phone. And some locations allow you to use VR to look around for clues, and others allow you to use those clues from the cards. And so each scenario is about 60 to 90 minutes. And if you get lost, the app actually kind of prompts you to kind of stay on the right track, gives you a little hint. They just finished their Kickstarter. It's supposed to be out later in December in 2018. I did play a full version of this, the first full scenario at Gamma. Actually, it made my top 5 games that I've played at Gamma Video because it was really good. And if you like the sort of Sherlock Holmes consulting detective, but you like to make that with some new technology, I'm not one that loves technology in my games, but this was seamless and worked really well. I loved the first scenario, and I'm looking forward to this later this year.
Number 4.
Number 4 is called The Mind. This is another game that was actually it was my number 1 game that I played at Gamma. Even though it wasn't there, it was unofficially being brought to people from just the people that were there. This has recently been signed by Pandasaurus. They'll be bringing it over later this year. And so yeah, it was my number 1 played game at Gamma. This is a 2 to 4 player co-op game. It's a team experience in which you can't exchange information, yet you'll need to become 1 to defeat all the levels in this game. There's cards between 1 and 100, and you got to defeat a certain amount of levels depending on the amount of players that are in the game, so it scales a lot like that. But in level 1, each of you has 1 card. In level 2, 2 cards. Level 3, 3 cards, and so on and so forth. So it gets harder as the game goes on, but there's no talking. And you're trying to collaboratively play the cards in ascending order, but no one knows what cards the other people have. So the only way to find out is to stare at each other, use body language, look away, stare at each other to hint whether you want to play a card, whether you have something close to the number that's there or not. It's an amazing experience that you've got to try yourself. It's the reason why it made my top game that I played at Gamma. I also did a mini sneak peek of that as well. I'll put those links below so you can learn a little bit more about this one.
Number 3.
Number 3 comes from Bezier Games. It is Ultimate Werewolf Legacy, and it's co-designed by Ted Alspach, who's known for all these werewolf games, and Rob Daviau, who's known for all the legacy games, you know, the best ones out there. It comes with a diary that will be like a leather-bound book that a moderator uses to walk you through each night. Now there's 3 games to a chapter, and there's 5 chapters, so a total of 15 games. Now as a legacy game, you can add and remove characters between chapters. And it really won't affect the gameplay that much. So that way, you can play with a different group and different players throughout the campaign, which tends to be one little problem with many of the different legacy games, where this sort of solves that with easy ways to bring people in and out. Also, the village changes every time after each game. Therefore, even if you play through the entire game with the same people, you'll have a different experience. Now, there's a recharge pack that you'll be able to buy that will help you play the game over again from the beginning, but because things change, even if you played the whole thing again, it would feel different. I'm super excited about this because I love werewolf-style social deduction games. I like legacy games a lot. This is going to be a Gen Con release.
Number 2.
My number 2 is called Fireball Island: The Curse of Volkar. Now, this is coming from Restoration Games, and they're restoring the classic 1986 game Fireball Island, which I played a ton as a kid. I was talking about this at Gammon. I can still visually remember playing this as a kid so vividly. Standing there, watching the marbles come down, knocking us over, and I had so much fun with it. Granted, the game's probably, as it was back then, not very good, but that's why I'm glad Restoration Games is doing this, because everything they touch, they make awesome. They did Stop Thief last year, which was an amazing restoration of an old game. They're probably going to do an excellent job with this. This features a unique 3D island and a host of marble mayhem. This new version has an island that's even bigger than the original, and yet it still fits in a smaller box. And it has more marbles. It's a family weight game for 2 to 4 players. You can play with 5 with an expansion. Plays in about 30 to 45 minutes. Now the game used to be super random, but it's been replaced with a simple card play mechanism. So it took away the roll and move, and you're using cards to make the original game a much better. There's also a set collection for treasures that give you some different choices for the players. And so I can't say anything else because I've learned a lot about this game and I can't remember what's public and what's not. And so I will leave it at that. It's a remake of Fireball Island that I loved as a kid. Cannot wait for this one.
Number 1.
My number 1 most anticipated game is from Portal Games called Detective: A Modern Crime board game. I love detective games. I love deduction games, sort of like the Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. Earlier in this video, I talked about Chronicles of Crime. I love these style of games. This essentially is a story-driven crime game in which 1 to 5 players will be investigators cooperatively trying to solve 5 scenarios. Each of the scenarios are about 2 hours each, and they can be played independently or worked through as a complete campaign. Now, it's inspired by Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, which I just mentioned, and Time Stories, but it uses a different set of tools. Now, in addition to the deck of cards that have clues, so there's some physical aspects to the game, you'll also be using an online fictitious database to look up information about people and clues that you find. Now, the best part is that you can do what they're calling breaking the fourth wall. Now, since this game is based in Richmond, Virginia, fictitiously, but you'll also be using real-world aspects to help in your case. For example, you'll be looking at, satellite images on Google Maps or Wikipedia to cross-reference the timing of when certain things historically happened. So basically, you have to become a real-world investigator, matching fictitious things that are in the story with real-world life, and that just sounds mind-blowing to me. This is coming out Gen Con. It's going to be an MSRP of $50. I recently finished watching a lot of these cool documentary series on the History Channel, like Hunting Hitler or Oswald Declassified, where they're hunting these people and seeing what happened, and they're learning a lot of investigations, and they're using databases and they're cross-referencing. And I loved those shows, and I think this is going to make you feel like you're one of the investigators in those shows, and I cannot wait for this. Well, I hope you enjoyed this top 10 most anticipated list. Hopefully it put something on your list that you weren't, you didn't know about, or if you did know about something, hopefully this gave you more information about it. So I'm looking forward to 2018. Looks like it's going to be a great year. This has been the Game Boy Geek, helping you find and enjoy the next board game you'll love.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.